Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Tuesday Training. I hope you're having a fantastic week. As always,
we are live from Austin, Texas, right here at Insurance Syndicate headquarters. And man, we have a great show for you.
Good morning. Good morning. What is happening, man? It is Tuesday. Time for a little Tuesday Training. We're going to jump into the Medicare business as always, is a big part of what I talk about on Tuesday, of course. And I've got some news, got a few little updates, and I'm going to cover a great article that I've already put in the group that my buddy Medicare Bob wrote regarding AEP being the Super Bowl of our industry, which it certainly is. We're going to jump into that. A lot of what he talks about in that article is things that I've been talking about in the last couple of weeks regarding getting yourself ready for AEP, getting your playbook, right, kind of put together and ready to roll. So we're going to dive into some of that and reinforce some of what I've been talking about. But we do have a few little news items, nothing super crazy, right? We're coming into basically the last day of September. Tomorrow is the big day. Tomorrow is October 1st. It is the first day that we will see actual plans on enrollment websites where we can look at them. We can start sharing materials with clients. We can talk to them about plans. We can start doing reviews and get ready so that when the 15th comes, hopefully we've got a stack of clients ready to make some enrollments and get some changes going. I know here at Avila, like when we get to the 15th, usually we've already got a stack of people that are ready to do the enrollment. We get them on the phone, knock out the enrollment, it's done. Because from the 1st through the 14th, we do a lot of plan reviews and we spend time to prioritize our clients based on who we think is most likely to need changes. So we do our best to identify that when we can, and then we kind of stack that up and tee it up. But we're going to jump into some news. As always, this show is brought to you by DFY CRM, my CRM of choice, and definitely one of the best CRMs out there if you're in the health insurance space and certainly in the Medicare space, because all the stuff's already built in it. It's ready to go. And if I could, I wish I could tell you the stuff that I'm building in it. I'm super excited about the Medicare journey that I'm building inside of DFY myself right now for our crew. Super pumped about it and can't wait. We will be putting in, we're going to put the AEP side of it into production starting tomorrow, basically, with some new ads that we're releasing, new workflows and so forth. All that jumps into full production tomorrow for the AEP and plan review side. And then I'm still working on the T65 journey and all the cross-selling journeys. But the framework's all there. I'm super excited about it. We will have that. My goal is to have that fully ready, like 100% full launch before 2026. So for agents that are either using DFY or considering a CRM, like think about it, because we're going to have some really, really, really cool stuff for you guys. I got no problem sharing some of the things that I've built in it. So we will be rolling that out soon. But with that said, man, I just want to jump into a handful of news articles, and then we'll jump into Medicare Bob's article and his kind of recommendations for how to go about your AEP. But as always, I do kind of like to point out fraud in the industry from time to time, and an easy place to find fraud. Like if you're ever having this conversation with someone, they're like, oh, there's no fraud in the Medicare industry, blah, blah, blah. Well, you can tell them that they're wrong. And all you have to do is go to the U.S. Department of Justice website, and right under their news, you can look for all their news releases, and you can do a keyword search. Do a keyword search for Medicare and look what pops up. We got 88 results. I got them sorted by date, right? The most recent one is September 26th, and it cruises on down. Just on this front page, there's about 12 fraudulent lawsuits going on, dating back to August 20th. That's just page one. And you can see right here, like some of the stuff that's going on out there just on the headlines, right? Like pharmacy owner and pharmacist sentenced for pill mill scheme involving hundreds of thousands of opioids. Physician sentenced to 14 years for illegal distribution of opioids. healthcare fraud, marketer sentenced for $11.5 million for genetic testing fraud. These are all different types of Medicare fraud schemes that are going on out there. Here's another one. 2 Florida men charged $34.8 million for a fraud scheme targeting Medicare. So there's no shortage of it. And I, for one, appreciate the DOJ's efforts in going out there and cleaning it up, because let's be honest, if they can clean up the fraud, there'll be more money in Medicare, and maybe it won't go bankrupt in 2033 like a lot of people are projecting. So just kind of wanted to point that out. And if you're ever just curious, like I said, go to the DOJ website, click on the news, type in a search term, and it will pull up whatever is going on. And certainly the Medicare thread is extremely, extremely active. Moving along. If you're an agent up in Ohio, maybe you're working with Kettering Health, or you're familiar with Kettering Health. They're mostly, I believe, in the southwest region of Ohio, but they are going to end a couple of Medicare Advantage contracts, specifically right here, like it says in the sub-headline, Humana and Devoted Health will not be renewed at the end of the year. So if you're an agent selling Humana and Devoted in Ohio, if you're used to using Kettering Health, I can't tell you if they're great or not. I don't really do much business in Ohio myself, but those two products will not be available at Kettering anymore. So if you're an agent out there, maybe you have a book of Humana clients that like to use Kettering. Maybe you have a book of Devoted clients that like to use Kettering. Be aware that they will be out of network for next year, and you will need to find somewhere else to place those clients, assuming they want to keep using Kettering. My understanding, again, is they're in the southwest area. They are a nonprofit healthcare company, which is great. And they have about 120 provider locations. So again, none of those locations are going to be offering or accepting Humana and Devoted. There's really no need for me to go through the whole article. It's fairly simple that it's going to impact that group of Medicare beneficiaries. But that is another one down, so to speak, that you may have to do some shuffling on. So just something to keep in mind. Again, if you're an agent selling in Ohio, boom, there you go. Kettering Health is dropping Humana and Devoted, which, on a side note, is one of the negatives to Medicare Advantage, right? Every year, these providers, whether it's doctors, right, or whether it's clinics, they can choose not to renew those contracts. Like, that's not an unusual thing to see. And a lot of times, some of these contracts that are negotiated between the Medicare Advantage carrier and the clinic or the provider network, a lot of times these contracts boil down to the very last minute. Last year, and I talked about this last week some, last year, we had that problem with Humana and Baylor Scott and White here locally. Like, that contract didn't get completed. I mean, it was actually beyond AEP before any of us really found out that, hey, Humana and Baylor Scott and White did not get their stuff sorted. And we had several people that we had to correct during OEP. So again, if you know where your clients are going and they're using Kettering and they're on Humana or Devoted, you might want to pay attention and move them up in priority, because if you don't, well, another agent will. Pretty simple. Jumping ahead, just out of the Sacramento Bee. I know this is something that's kind of going around the interwebs right now, because there is a government shutdown looming because they can't get along. Nothing unusual there. Government shutdowns have happened in the past. Probably, it's definitely not the first time. It probably won't be the last time. But this article kind of lets you know, hey, what stays open during a federal government shutdown? Because there are certainly people out there that are fear-mongering that Medicare won't be around or won't be open, or Social Security won't be open, or some of those things. And we're just going to put an end to some of that, those myths real quick. So we do have a federal government shutdown looming. And right here at the top, it just tells you straight off. Social Security, veterans benefits will continue. Law enforcement will stay on. Medicare does not shut down, and mail will still be delivered. Right? Those are some of the biggest programs. And it goes on to say, right here, that some programs like Social Security and Medicare are not subject to annual funding because their budgets cover several years or have permanent funding, right? So they will remain active. And you can even Goes further. Social Security, California's 6.4 million beneficiaries. They're going to continue to get payments if there is a shutdown, right? It is mandatory spending. Federal health programs for people 65 and over. Nothing's going to change, man. So even if there's a government shutdown, like, you can assure your Medicare folks, your veterans, your people on Social Security, people on Medicaid, like, they have nothing to worry about. All of those programs continue even during a shutdown because they are mandatory spending and they have locked in or permanent budgets. So nothing, extravagant there. But I've seen comments made on social media regarding this possible upcoming shutdown and that people on Medicare are going to be left in the lurch or whatever. And that's just not true. So there you go. This one, fairly interesting, out of Forbes. Check this out. Trump floats Medicare coverage for CBD in a video post, sparking buzz. I'm not going to play the video for you guys. I actually don't even have the video. It's not linked in here that I can see. But basically, he made a move, as it says here. Yesterday, President Trump made a move that has many in the cannabis industry abuzz with excitement and anticipation. While he still has yet to make a decision on rescheduling cannabis and what they're talking about there, right? While he still hasn't made a decision on rescheduling cannabis, cannabis is still a Schedule I drug, right? And there's been all kinds of pressure for years, decades, of trying to push the federal government to lower the drug schedule. Like, it shouldn't be a Schedule I drug in their opinion, so they want to move it down. So while they're not dealing with that, he did post a video touting, and they got a link to it here, but again, I'm not going to play it. But he did tout the health benefits for hemp-derived CBD for seniors, suggesting it could be included under Medicare. Although the implications of the gesture are unclear, it does signal a shift in industry positioning that might be on the horizon. Cannabis leaders are certainly pondering the impact of the president's move. A highlight of the video, which Trump posted on his social media platform, Truth Social, is that it states, hey, it's time to educate doctors on the endocannabinoid system, provide Medicare coverage for CBD, and give millions of seniors the support they deserve. For Adam Stetner, CEO of Fund Canna, a California-based cannabis business leader, it's a milestone moment, he says, and a signal to capital markets that cannabis reform is maturing beyond partisan lines. So fairly interesting there, right? No really need to go through the rest of the article, but that was pretty interesting that he threw that out there. I know that is something that, again, has had a lot of pressure on it in different ways. And we've certainly seen over the last decade or so, right, some shifts in some of the philosophies on cannabis, particularly in regards to CBD, right? Some of the treatments. We have medical cannabis, all kinds of stuff going on. So now they're looking at floating that as an opportunity to be covered by Medicare. Pretty interesting little shift there as the times they are changing. Moving along, we got some more possible new stuff. This is a bipartisan bill that is being pushed out to speed up Medicare Advantage payments to providers. This is a long time been a negative, and it's been one of the negatives, at least in the original days, right? And I think it's still a negative for a lot of doctors, physicians, or providers, that they get paid faster under original Medicare. They might get paid less, as I've talked about for a long time, but they get paid faster. And one of the problems with Medicare Advantage that turns off a lot of doctors is they don't like haggling with Humana or Cigna or Aetna, whoever it might be, to get their reimbursement for their services. They want to get paid. They want to make, these guys are running a business. They need to get paid as fast as possible in time of service. Original Medicare pays them super, super quick. And there's a bipartisan bill to put some new pressure on Medicare Advantage plans to also speed up those payments. But it is called the Medicare Advantage Prompt Pay Act. I will put this article in there now, and the link will be right here if you want to look at the whole Prompt Pay Act. But it would apply to covered services regardless of whether a provider and plan have a network contract. It also requires plans submit information on their compliance with the prompt payment requirements and other details around a submitted claim, and authorizes regulators to consult those reports when weighing a civil fine. And right up here above it, it says there's a possibility that people that don't follow this, assuming it does even get approved, could face a $25,000 fine with interest accrual. Looking a little further, again, it's a bipartisan legislation that was unveiled late last week. We got Senator Catherine Cortez, a Democrat out of Nevada, Senator Marsha Blackburn, a Republican out of Tennessee, Jody Arrington, Congress representative out of Texas, also Republican, and Congressman or Congresswoman Linda Sanchez, a Democrat out of California. So we got 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans working together to put this together. And in their announcement, the lawmakers said the provisions would ensure that hospitals and doctors' payments arrive reliably and protect seniors on MA plans from unexpected bills sent well after they had received care. Right? So it's a common sense fix to Medicare Advantage billing practices, and more specifically right here, the bill is going to give them a 14-day deadline to pay electronically submitted in-network claims, and then a 30-day requirement for paper claims or out-of-network claims. And to avoid a fine, they have to provide prompt payment for 95% of claims that they receive. So fairly simple. And we've seen, I mean, if you're an agent out there that works in the Medicare Advantage space, you've probably at some point, if you've written a big enough book, had to deal with some of the stuff, having to help clients get their claims resubmitted, helping, work to get that stuff paid and so forth. And they are working on tightening that up. I, for one, would say this would be a huge fix for the Medicare Advantage world. If they could get it down to a solid prompt payment system, we won't have as many issues, in my opinion. And I don't know how prior authorization might necessarily fit into that, but if they can speed up prior authorization, and then if they can speed up the reimbursements back to the providers on Medicare Advantage claims, in my opinion, that would create a lot more efficiency in the plans themselves and eliminate a lot of the issues, a lot of the problems. So this is a really good bill, in my opinion, that we should keep our eyes peeled for. And again, I'll make sure that this article is in there, and I will follow updates on this if I see anything pop up as this thing progresses. I will definitely keep you in the loop. But obviously, if they're shutting down the government, they're not going to be voting on it anytime soon. But it is a bill that has now been filed, and they will deal with it hopefully as soon as possible. Moving along with another little piece here. This is more updates or more new things that they are introducing. And this one is a little wild. An insurance company is introducing a new threat to American medicine. It says, complexity in medicine cannot be reduced to a billing code. Well, what is going on here? Well, on October 1st, Cigna, who just sold all of their Medicare Advantage business or Medicare business to Blue Cross, or at least Healthcare Service Corp, the company that owns Blue Cross, they are rolling out a policy that tracks how physicians bill. It will flag doctors or providers who submit a higher proportion of level 4 or level 5 visits. And those visits get reimbursed at a higher rate. So for doctors that are placed under this extra scrutiny, certain claims at those higher levels could be adjusted down by one level if the billing details do not appear to justify the service. The specific affected codes are right here, right? We got new patient, office outpatient, established patient, office outpatient, and consultations. So we got 3 billing codes that they're going after that they are like, hey, we want to make sure that the code that you're using, right, that it is not, that if you're going to submit it as a level 4 or a level 5 claim to get the higher reimbursement, we want to know that that's justified. Cigna says the bill is to fight upcoding and billing abuse, arguing that some physicians bill for more complex visits than were actually provided. For example, here they say such as charging for a 40-minute encounter when the visit only lasted 10 minutes, and that those patterns drive unnecessary cost for patients and employees or employers. But coding is not based on time alone. Under the current rules, physicians can bill according to either total time or complexity of the medical decision-making. That kind of makes sense to me. And that means that a physician who legitimately spends half an hour or more untangling multiple conditions reviewing medications and coordinating care could still be flagged as an outlier, triggering payment reductions and an extra administrative work, even when the documentation supports the higher code. So physicians are obviously arguing it, saying that the downcoding will happen automatically. Cigna denied that and said, no, the new policy is just an additional layer for, we want to review a small subset of claims and providers. And that's about all the detail they've given. Now, we know that upcoding is an issue. It's been an issue for years. It's one of the many reasons why Medicare Advantage plans cost more to Medicare by, I want to say 22% is what Kaiser Family Foundation found out, than original Medicare. And upcoding is certainly one of the contributing factors to that. It's not the only factor, but it's one of the contributing factors to that. So Cigna is going to fight that, and they are working on this. But just like it says down here, like this is not a minor adjustment, it's the start of a slippery slope, because now you may very well have doctors doing work that deserves a level 4 or 5 billing code, but Cigna is not justifying that. So this is going to be an interesting one. Again, this policy rolls out tomorrow. Like Cigna is putting it in play, right? So if you're selling Cigna, be prepared that you may run into some billing issues between some doctors. I mean, I would say not if this policy rolls out, because the policy is rolling out. It goes into effect tomorrow. If it's not practiced properly, and if doctors ever get the feeling that they are being abused by Cigna, it would only make sense to me that we would probably see more doctors dropping Cigna as a provider that they accept, as a carrier that they accept. Maybe. And I'm not trying to tell you that Cigna is something you shouldn't sell. I like the product. We sell a ton of Cigna Health Spring out here because it is popular in Texas and a couple of the states that we work in. But I like their idea because it does protect from upcoding. And we've already seen that there's a ton of fraud, waste, and abuse in Medicare. We know that for a fact. So I appreciate that they're going after it. I just hope that they hold it up ethically and they don't abuse doctors on it. So we'll see. But it certainly will curb doctors from trying to abuse it. We just got to hope that Cigna doesn't abuse it. Coming up next, this from Fierce Healthcare. CMS says that the average Medicare Advantage premiums are set to decline for 2026 plan year. I'd really, really, really like to know how they came up with that data. I mean, I'm going to go through the article with you guys, but like I've looked at a lot of the PPO plans that we have, that we've sold, that are in effect, and I'm seeing increases on all those plans for premiums. Like I'm seeing $27 PPOs that are now going up to $47 or $60 or $97. Or there was even one that I saw that I think was going up to like $120 a month now, or 108, something like that. I can't imagine, and maybe I'm wrong because I haven't looked at every single marketplace, but I can't imagine that for the products that do offer premiums, because we know most Medicare Advantage plans are zero premium, right? Especially the HMO products, some of the HMO POSs. It's usually, not always, but usually, just kind of depends on the area, it's usually the PPOs that have a premium. And all the plans that I've looked at for PPOs, if there is a premium, it's either staying the same or it's going up. So in my brain, especially considering that the footprint is contracting a little bit, the number of plans is contracting a little bit, I would think that's bullshit. And that the average Medicare Advantage premium is going to go up next year, but CMS disagrees. So let's dive into this a little bit. The Trump administration projects average Medicare Advantage premiums will decline slightly for the 2026 plan year. Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services announced Friday that the average monthly premium across all types of Medicare Advantage coverage, so that's going to include Medicare Advantage PPOs, HMO POS, D-SNPs, MA only, full-on MAPD, right? HMO, PPO, whatever it might be. And I would assume PFFS plans, if there's still any out there, are included in this math as well. But it says that the average monthly premium across all types of MA coverage is set to be $14 down from $16.40. This includes MA plans with prescription drug coverage as well as dual special needs, which I already said. In addition, the agency said that based on projections from insurers, overall enrollment in MA is expected to decrease from 34.9 million last year to 34 million in 2026, representing 48% of Medicare eligibles. 50% of Medicare beneficiaries were enrolled in MA for 2025. So as I've talked about before, and as we already know, we have been outpacing the original predictions, right? Original predictions from Kaiser Family Foundation and many other people was that we weren't going to cross the 50% enrollment threshold for Medicare Advantage until we hit 2030. We've already crossed it, and it's actually 51%, not 50%. And it's not, it's right there. It's like super slight, but we're already at 51% of Medicare beneficiaries enrolled in MA. And they're saying that, hey, it's going to dial back and it's going to be a little less than half. It's going to be 48%, right? Which is definitely a reduction. And CMS said in the announcement that while these figures are based on insurers' estimates, the agency anticipates that enrollment in MA 2026 will actually be more robust. So CMS and the insurers, the carriers, do not agree on this statement right now. Insurers saying that overall enrollment is going to decrease and we're going to roll back to about 48%. And CMS says no. Those are insurers' estimates. We are still telling you that enrollment in MA in 2026 will be more robust than the projections, than the insurer projections, and that enrollment will be stable. What do you think? I'm curious. I would love, put it in the comments. I would love to know what you guys think. Do you think that we will see fewer? Do you think that we'll roll back and we'll have a smaller enrollment penetration of Medicare Advantage this year? I would think that. I would kind of agree with the insurers. The footprint shrinking, the number of plans is shrinking. I've already been talking about this, that from everything that I can see, about 2 million Medicare beneficiaries, which is almost double what it usually is, are going to lose access to their Medicare Advantage plan by no fault of their own. Now, in a lot of those areas that they're in, there will be other Medicare Advantage plans they can roll in. In some areas, there won't be any Medicare Advantage plans they can enroll in, or at least that are not worth a shit. And they're going to have to either just run with original Medicare or use their loss of coverage option to GI into a Medicare supplement, assuming it's in their budget. So in my mind, I would agree with the insurers that, yeah, it's going to reduce. And Kim Falbo says here it's going to increase. And she has a really good point. The cost of Medicare is going up, right? I've talked about this a couple of times already, that we're looking at about an 11.6% increase on the Part B premium alone. So if the cost of Medicare are going up, then yeah, that would certainly drive more people back over to Medicare Advantage. I have been talking to a lot of my Medicare supplement beneficiaries lately, and some of their prices have certainly gone up, right? Quite a bit. I just had 2 beneficiaries that unfortunately they're not healthy enough for me to move into another Medicare supplement plan where I can keep those same benefits, the same robust freedom of choice that they love and appreciate. So they either have to stick with it and keep paying their premium, or they could bounce to an MA plan. And that could be a reason, like if their cost on the Medicare supplements that I have written them, and I wrote them, it was 5 years ago when I wrote the plans that I'm thinking of right now. They've pretty close to doubled in premium from the day that I enrolled them 5 years ago. So they are looking to save money. Thankfully, they're good. And they're like, hey, it is what it is. We're still going to pay it. We love this type of coverage, yada, yada, yada. Call us back, check our drug plans. We'll see what we can do. But Kim has a really good point. And she's kind of more in line with what CMS says. No, we're going to see a more robust enrollment than what the insurers are saying, and MA enrollment will be stable. Interesting. Total number of MA plan options is also set to decline. Again, this is according to CMS, but it's not declining a lot according to them. It's going from 5,633 plans nationwide to about 5,600. So we're only losing about 33 plans out of the total number of plans. That doesn't sound like a massive footprint shrinkage. Now, there's Plan expansion's happening, right? So for example, Devoted blew up in 9 new states this year. So that's a bunch of new plans that are added. Carriers like Humana, for example, while they are exiting some plans, they're adding new plans. So that kind of offsets. Same thing with UHC, same thing with Aetna, right? And some of these other carriers. So while I think the geographical footprint shrinkage is probably more drastic than the total number of plan shrinkage, right? It's not going down that much. And CMS went on further and said that 99% of Medicare eligibles will have access to at least one plan, and 97% will be have access to 10 or more. And that number is down because I remember the averages being closer to around 13 or 14 in any given county, right? And that was an average. Certainly not all counties have that many plans. Like there's some counties that have 35, 38 plans available or more. But, they go on to say that millions of Medicare beneficiaries will continue to have access to a broad range of affordable coverage options in 26. We want every beneficiary to take advantage of open enrollment. Compare your options. Choose the plan that gives you the right care at the right price. Final thing that they note here, they say that the average monthly premium for Part D plans is also set to decline. The average 2026 premium is estimated to be, and this is for Part D, is estimated to be $34.50, down from $38.31. Now, I have certainly not looked at all of the Part D plan pricing. I don't expect there to be massive changes, but I've seen some changes and I've seen a few increases here and there on some of the plans. But I don't think it's as significant as some of us maybe estimated or feared that it would be. But they're saying it's going down, which is interesting because the national base premium is going up. That national base premium has nothing to do with the average premium. That is just the number they use to calculate the penalty, the late enrollment penalties, right? That went up 6%, but they're saying that the actual average premium is going to go down. I don't know that I agree with that statement, but that's what Medicare is telling us. So there we go. There is that from Fierce Healthcare. And then now I want to dive in to Mr. Bachi's article here. This is in the group already, if you want to check it out. It's an excellent article. If you don't know Medicare Bob, he's pictured right here. He's an absolute gem in the industry, one of the nicest guys I've ever met, one of the sharpest guys I've ever met, and definitely one of the most successful guys I've ever met in the industry. Extremely smart at marketing, extremely smart in the sales process, extremely savvy in Medicare in general. And he writes this beautiful article that I want to run through a little bit with you guys. I'm not going to go through everything verbatim, but I just want to reinforce a few things because that he talks about in here that I think is wonderful. And of course, he says it right here at the top, which I love because it is true. As the leaves start to turn, as the leaves start to turn and the air gets a little crisper, I know exactly what's on every insurance professional's mind: the Medicare annual enrollment period, because it's the Super Bowl of our industry. And he says that it's a time of immense opportunity, but also intense competition and a constantly shifting regulatory landscape. In my years in this industry, I've learned that the accurate measure of success isn't only about the number of policies sold, but it's about the trust that we build and the value that we provide. And that is definitely true. And AEP, just like he puts it here, is a defining moment for our practice. It allows us the opportunity to truly differentiate ourselves by focusing on ethical marketing, client-centric sales strategies. And for him, it comes down to one simple philosophy: be a trusted advisor, not just a salesperson. He goes through to talk about some of his playbook, and this kind of matches up with some of the stuff I've been talking to you guys about already. But basically, it says elevate your AEP strategy with proactive marketing, right? When you create your outreach strategy, start by understanding the communication habits of your target audience. How are they communicating with you? Do they communicate by email with you, text message, WhatsApp, Facebook, phone calls, direct mail? What do they respond to? And ultimately, as I have mentioned earlier, you should be barraging them with all of those opportunities. Like we've sent out direct mail, we sent out an email, we sent out a text message, we picked up the phone and called all of them in regards to their annual notice of change to proactively reach out. And we did our best to prioritize the customers that we felt were in the that were the highest priority, right? This were most likely to need a big change. He also mentions that effective time management is crucial during AEP. I think we all know that, right? And depending on the size of your book, you're going to need help. And I've talked to agents about this in the past, and I feel like that number is usually when you get somewhere around the 300 to 500 client range, particularly in Medicare Advantage. I mean, if I've had 300 clients in the Medicare supplement space many years ago or more, they don't need much, because Medicare supplements like the Ron Popeil of Medicare. You can set it and forget it, send them a birthday card, that thing runs itself, right? Which is one of the reasons why I tend to prefer that product. Medicare Advantage, as we know, doesn't run on that same program, right? Just like we're having to deal with this year. There's plan changes, footprint shrinkage, elevated costs, changing networks, changing drug formularies. It's constantly changing. So we can't just send them a birthday card and hope that it's going to stay, because we also know that it is also extremely competitive, and with no evidence of insurability where people can switch plans anytime, they are subject to getting switched to the next shiny object that some savvy salesperson talks to them about. So you have to learn to truly manage your time to make sure that, number one, I am outreaching to these people, right? And two, I'm being as effective as I can. So one of the things I'd already mentioned is that we do our best to start reviewing when we see plans and we see problems or we see plan exits or whatever. We create a list and we try to prioritize those clients as best we can, because we know these are the high priority ones. They're the ones that are most at risk, most vulnerable. We want to get out to them as fast as we can and make sure they're taken care of. And then we'll work through our other people that are just doing standard plan reviews, and then certainly pick up new clients as we go along. But what I was really getting at, back to effective time management here, it's usually around that 500 app mark, maybe even 300 if you're weak. But I would say somewhere in that 300 to 500 MA client range is when your job starts to get really tough. And I would advocate you to find a virtual assistant, even if it's just a part-timer to help you out a couple days or a couple hours a day. Do that, right? Like our book has gotten quite large, over 1,000 or so now with Grace's primary book. And we have 2 VAs that help us with it, right? And we just hired a 3rd VA this year because we picked up a new agent that is working with us. And we want to make sure that, number one, we can protect the book that we've been building for the last 5 years, right? So we got 2 VAs plus our agents that's working that along with myself. And then we have a new agent with a new VA assisting him, because he's also a busy guy. He's not a brand new agent. He's just new to us. So we wanted to bring him in and help him, and we got him a VA to work with him as well. Next thing here, and this is something I've been chatting about, but focus on educating, not just selling. Selling is obviously a big part of what we do, but Medicare is that more educative or consultative type sale. So focus on educating, because like it says here, during AEP, your clients are often stressed, they're overwhelmed, and they are bombarded with information. It's your job to be the calming voice of clarity. Encourage your agents to prioritize active listening to truly understand each client's unique needs and health goals. A well-placed, empathetic question can build more trust than any sales pitch, inform and educate them about AEP and the annual notice of change. And Bob says that, in my view, this is the most crucial step in building a client relationship, and he hit the nail on the head, especially in today's hyperactive, hyper anxious, overly information world, right? There's information, there's disinformation, there's misinformation, and it's being thrown at them at such a hyper rate. And I just, speaking with the times that we're in right now, like, let's be honest, everybody's a little more turn up. Everybody's a little more on edge anyway, just by the state of affairs that are going on in our country, much less just looking at it from a Medicare angle of confusion, information, changes, stuff that's going on. So it is your job to be the calming voice of clarity. And I'm going to give you one great lesson. He says prioritize active listening to truly understand. And I am going to give you a lesson from Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Seek first to understand before being understood. Like, that philosophy should be burnt in your brain. Seek first to understand your client before pushing to be understood yourself, right? So prioritize that active listening. Make sure you understand what your client's needs so that you can properly provide not only the clarity and the calming voice, but the solution for them. He goes on to talk about using quoting tools and CRMs. Enough said about that, right? Like you really got to have streamlined processes, and those tools are going to help. But let's talk about selling strategies. The art of the AEP pitch. He says that effective selling isn't about high pressure tactics. It's about transforming a single interaction into a lasting client relationship. The true secret to client retention. And that's what makes this business lucrative, right? The reason that insurance agents are attracted to insurance is not because you sell one app and you make a ton of money and then you can go skiing and go on vacation, right? It's not like that. The goal is to keep them on the books so that those renewals pile up so that you have a compounding income curve. And yes, eventually you can easily go skiing. So a few bullet points he hits here. Number one, knowledge is power. Agents can't be trusted advisors if they don't know their stuff, right? And he's framing this kind of towards FMOs a little bit and brokers and agencies that run agents. He says, ensure that your agents stay informed on the latest regulations from CMS, the plan updates, product benefits. Pretty simple, right? The goal is for agents to be so knowledgeable that they can explain a complex term in clear, concise language. That confidence fosters transparency, which in turn builds trust. Absolutely, man. Knowledge is power. And I'm of the opinion that you should learn to be so knowledgeable about your industry, about your Medicare, about the plans that you can speak, like he says here, clear, concise language, that you can speak extemporaneously. And I don't necessarily need notes. I don't need a script. I know what's going on and I can speak at an extemporaneous level because I'm that knowledgeable about it. I'm that well polished. I'm that well informed, right? So that should kind of be one of your goals as an example. Number two, he says cross-sell like a pro. Absolutely. And a couple of big reasons like why you should cross-sell. Number one, it helps you make more money. If you sell two products to a client versus one, you make more money. And before you jump on the, oh, Tony's just trying to be a greedy commission whore bandwagon guy. No. My job as an insurance agent, your job as an insurance agent, is to cover your client as best as you can within their budget, right? Your job is to mitigate as much risk as you can to protect your client as best you can that's within their needs and their budget. Right. There's a difference between overselling product and selling truly what your client needs and protecting them at the highest level. Right. And the easiest example of this is truly in the final expense space, in my opinion, where agents will sell too much life insurance on a final expense policy that doesn't fit their budget versus selling them really what they can afford, what they need. Right. Not all clients need a $35,000 final expense plan. A lot of times they only need 12 or 15 grand. So that's probably the easiest way to kind of demonstrate that example, but it's true in our space too. Like don't just load them up with stuff, but make sure that you are cross-selling at a level that will give your client the opportunity to protect themselves at the highest level that they want and can afford. And you should know exactly what products you should be allowed to cross-market. And again, for all you guys that are in California, I'm sorry. There's not much you can cross-market out there because they have pretty much 86 or they have 86 all supplemental health insurance. So you can't sell cancer plans, can't sell any short-term care, can't sell any type of critical illness, home health care, hospital indemnity, not all that stuff's out the window. You can only sell them a Medicare Advantage plan. You can sell them final expense. And there are some great products in California for final expense. And while you obviously cannot sell it on the same Medicare Advantage appointment, believe me, man, if I'm an agent in California that specializes in Medicare, my goal would really to be a life insurance agent disguised as a Medicare agent. Like that would be my MO if I was in California, because I want everybody that I sell a Medicare Advantage plan to, everybody that I sell a Medicare supplement plan to, I am absolutely 100% going to come back and talk to them about life insurance. And some of that might depend on the demographic that you're working with in California. Maybe you're working with the lower income demographic. So definitely it's a lot of Medicare Advantage. 100% you should be offering them final expense. Maybe you're working with a higher income demographic in California. Well, then you should probably learn to sell advanced life insurance products or even annuities as your secondary cross market. Because if you're only running around selling Medicare Advantage or Medicare supplement plans to them, while you can still make a good living, you're still leaving yourself open and you're leaving a lot of money on the table. So, I mean, I would definitely figure out what are the products that I can sell and should sell. I can tell you what we sell, right? We are definitely a heavy Medicare Advantage shop over here because we focus on a specific target demographic, which tends to be on the lower income side, right? And if you don't believe that people in the Medicare space are lower income, like on average, the 65-year-olds that are out there make less than $50,000 a year, look it up. There's certainly some that make a lot more, but the average demographic of the senior citizen already is a lower income group. So we're pretty Medicare Advantage heavy, but we immediately come in and offer them hospital indemnity. That is our first big secondary product that we sell. We certainly offer short-term care, right? Cancer plans, dental, vision, hearing, home health care plans, and then finally final expense, which is something that when I get that all built out in DFY for you, you're going to see it. It's going to be phenomenal. And again, we'll talk to you guys more about that. But other reasons to cross-sell. Number one, I'm protecting my client at the best that I can. That helps me make more money, makes me more profitable. If I'm more profitable, I can help more people. It also increases your retention on your clients. And this was a Harvard study. I can't remember how long ago the study was or exactly all the figures, but I do remember the study. And they said for any client that you have at least 3 products with or more, you have an exponentially higher percentage of maintaining that client for the life of the client versus if all you do is sell them a Medicare Advantage plan. If all you do is sell them a Medicare Advantage plan, they are easily going to allow the next agent to come in and flip their Medicare Advantage plan. But if you've taken good care of them and you've gotten them the best Medicare Advantage plan you can sell them, sorry, I'm not supposed to use superlatives. If you've gotten them the right Medicare Advantage plan that they need, and you filled the gaps with the hospital indemnity to give them good, robust care, and then you added on a little bit of cancer insurance, and you've added on some final expense to cap it off, you got 3 or 4 apps there. That client is not going to let anybody come in their house or get them on the phone and try to screw up the super cool healthcare package that you helped them design and build. Right? They are going to be extremely loyal. And when they're extremely loyal, what does that mean? Well, that means more money for you as well in the form of your renewals. Because now you have 3 or 4 apps renewing every year. You have a client that's never leaving you. You're going to have a higher lifetime value, which ultimately raises your income. That is the difference between the agents that are making high-end 6 figures or running teams that are in the 7-figure or 8-figure realms, and then just the agent that's out there making 60, 70, 80, 100K a year. You can make 100K in this business. You just got to work 3 years at it and never cross-sell. And you'll make 100K in that 3rd year if you're any good, if you're average. But if you're really good, you can learn to make 100K first year if you really learn to cross-sell. And you can easily push yourself into 7-figure range within a handful of years. So cross-sell like a pro. And one more tip on cross-selling real quick, not to beat this into the ground. Start with, if you're new to cross-selling, start with one product. Don't try to cross-sell all the products. Start with one. And if you're a heavy MA writer, if you're writing a lot of Medicare Advantage, that one, unless you're in California, that one product should be hospital indemnity. Start there. If you're in California, start with final expense, right? But just learn that one product and learn how to present it. It's not hard. There's a very simple statement I'm going to give you right now to help you learn to cross-sell hospital indemnity. You call your Medicare Advantage client back during OEP, right? And you say, hey, Miss Betty, it's me again. I helped you with that Humana plan. I wanted to check in real quick. Have you had a chance to use it? Have you had any problems when you're using it? Great. I'm glad to hear you're having a great experience. Some of my clients have higher expenses. You might remember when we went through the plan, I showed you all of your out-of-pocket expenses. Well, now I want to show you a way that I helped a lot of my clients bring those out-of-pocket expenses down to zero. And you show them a hospital indemnity plan. Boom. Piece of cake. Next thing he says is empathetic objection handling. I've seen countless agents get discouraged by client objections, but I see them as an opportunity. View them as a signal that the client needs a different perspective or more clarity. An objection often signals a need for more information, not a definitive no. Prepare agents with practice scenarios to help them develop their ability to pivot, reaffirm value, and guide clients through the decision-making process with confidence and grace. Now, if you are involved in a team as an agent, you guys should be role-playing objections. Absolutely. And if you're an individual agent out there by yourself, maybe go find, either whether it's someone in your upline or a mentor, or maybe it's a colleague that's in the same team, or just a friend of yours in the industry that you love. Build a relationship with them and say, hey man, let's do some role playing together and practice objections. These are some of the objections I get that I'm struggling with. How would you handle this? Right? And if you're super introvert, just go have that conversation with ChatGPT. Seriously. Like, open up ChatGPT and go, hey, I'm having trouble with this objection. How should I handle it? It'll help you. Pretty simple. But be empathetic and understand that when they object, it's not no. They're really saying, I don't understand. I'm not prepared to make a decision because you haven't presented me with enough information to make me confident. Finally, he says the personalized touch. During AEP, the market is saturated with generic information. Your ability to personalize the experience will help you stand out. Use your CRM to review client notes, remember key details, yada, yada, yada. I want to talk about this one a lot because he's absolutely hitting the nail on the head. There are tons of people that are still out there using the black and white BRC mailers. There's no differentiation, right? These are often people that are hiding behind a brand that they don't want people to know about, or they don't have a brand, right? Or their brand isn't big enough or strong enough that maybe they can pull in. I'll be honest, when we launched Avila, we used black and white BRC blank generic mailers for probably the first year and a half until we felt like we could start to do more branded things. Right now, everything we communicate is fully branded. If I send a piece of direct mail out, it's branded. If I send a letter out, it's branded. If I send an email out, it's branded. Like, everything has our brand blistered all over it. And one of the other keys is we put our photo on there. That is a personalized thing. It shows that you are a real human being. So, for example, if I'm going to send an ANOC letter out, I want my ANOC letter to be personalized. I want to make sure that it's addressed to Betty or whoever my client is. I want to make sure that it includes my brand, and I would highly recommend putting your picture on there. Right? And there's still time to send ANOCs out if you haven't already sent your own, whether it's email or mail or whatever you're doing. But personalize your communication to them. Create a video, right? This is something that we've never done, but we're going to start doing it more and more, is within some of our messaging and email and electronic messages, primarily email and probably some text too. We're going to include video in there. It's super easy to do in the email because we can just embed it. A text, it's not as easy, but still doable. But we're going to embed a personalized video that's like, hey, and while that personalized video, like, we're not going to make a video for every single client every single time. That's too much work. But we can include a video that is simple and says, hey, this is us reaching out. We wanted to just let you know that, hey, it's AEP time, yada, 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 yada. Super personalized, right? That makes you a real human being. That's who they want to do business with. People don't do business with companies. They do business with the real human being that's behind the brand. That's who they're really interested in, right? But branding is huge, and it does set you apart. Do not be the generic just black and white cards and black and white letters that are out there, right? Because that's just going to create a transactional relationship that is not going to create the long-term relationship that you really want, because you want to be their agent for life to get your lifetime value and get those renewals up. So as we get ready to close out the show, his final statement here is the path to excellence. A successful AEP will be built on strategic planning, proactive compliance, and a deep-seated commitment to your clients' well-being. Empower your teams, empower yourself, secure enrollments, and build a loyal client base that trust us long after the enrollment period ends. Our industry is changing, and the agents who lead the way are those who prioritize preparation and integrity at the heart of everything they do. Empower yourself and your agents to master the art of the AEP pitch and build a loyal client base that champions your business long after the enrollment period ends. Remember the bigger mission: to provide peace of mind to clients. And I want to say one more thing that Medicare Bob said, not in this article. He said this, I think it was the third Medicare con in Vegas, if I remember correctly. Might have been Alabama, I'm not sure. But this statement has stuck with me for a while, and I knew it to be true already. Like, he didn't point out anything I didn't already know, but just the fact that he said it, like, hit it, ingrained it in my head, and really made me think about it harder and emphasize it. But he basically said, if the client onboarding experience in Medicare does not improve, then regulation will continue to get handed down to us. Pretty simple. If we as agents collectively don't work together to improve the client onboarding experience, which in turn reduces complaints to Medicare, then regulation against agents will continue to escalate. And I'm going to leave one more final thing. Someone in another Facebook group was bragging about turning in agents for their perceived non-compliance behavior. Now, whether that agent is correct or not, they saw an agent that was doing something uncompliant. I saw an agent the other day that was already advertising on Facebook for AEP. You can't advertise on Facebook for AEP until tomorrow. But I don't care. I'm not going to go turn that agent in. I'm not going to go find him, hunt him down, and make it my personal mission. But there are agents out there that are complaining to Medicare about other agents in the industry because they perceive that that agent is doing something that's uncompliant. I understand that we don't want bad actors in our industry, but natural law tells us that there will always be bad actors in our industry. We can't eliminate them. We have to just outperform them and make them obsolete, right? So that their ability to affect our marketplace is minimalized. It's much more reduced. And we don't do that by reporting them to CMS. If you want to report them anywhere, report them to their local DOI. Don't call Medicare and complain, because all you're doing is now you're adding more complaints to Medicare, and you're going to add more heat, more regulation back to us as an independent agent yourself. You are an independent agent. And for you to go out of your way to complain about another independent agent, one, it's a waste of your time. Like, get on the phone, for fuck's sake, pardon my language, and call your leads. Like, stop wasting your time complaining about other agents. But all you're doing is you're creating a problem for your own job, and you're advocating to put yourself out of business. How you don't see that blows my mind. But if you're an agent complaining to Medicare about other agents, you are part of the problem, not part of the solution. End of rant. Y'all have a great Tuesday.